So we're going to start this motherfucker right now, man. Jeez, I just fucking recorded this bitch. Didn't fucking work out. Now we got an air conditioner and we got fucking people banging on the fucking ceiling in the background. How fucking nice is that, these inconsiderate fucking cunts? It's like nobody gives a fuck anymore. I could live in my space and fucking do whatever the fuck I want. Inconsiderate. I don't give a fuck. Yeah, so 30 minutes of this shit is down the fucking drain from audio fucking problems. And now we're fucking doing this bitch again. So, I got my LaCroix, my nicotine-less vape. Ready to go with this bitch. So, I've been fucking busy as a fuck all week because the construction superintendent job is kicking my ass. There's so much fucking bullshit you gotta fucking deal with all day, answering questions, looking at the print, getting fucking on the phone, so on and so forth. There's not a lot of fucking time. So I don't have a lot of time. But I do have a couple episodes in the making, and I've been working on for a couple weeks now, and been writing notes on it. And after a couple of days, I go back to my notes, and I'm like, where the fuck was I? What was my point? What book was I referencing to? And so it takes a little bit of time instead of doing everything in like fucking 12 hours, you know. Sometimes I'll do. So I'm not going over any of those memoirs right now, but there's some articles that I went over that I came across. And yeah, these fucking cunts are still fucking banging on the ceiling up there. It's fucking insane. There's nothing I could say to that fucking guy. You know, it's all about communication, right? Like I was thinking the other day about communication, like how humans have evolved because humans can communicate better than any other living thing on the planet. And that's why we were able to conquer and succeed. And we use this tool of communication so we could help ourselves and help each other and get to the point where we are at with smartphones and so on and so forth. If we weren't able to communicate, if that diversity of strength bullshit came in where we couldn't communicate, we'd be fucked. You know, way back in the day when humans got together and started forming societies, they had to come up with a language so they could communicate together. And that fucking guy upstairs, I can't communicate with the fucking dude. He lies to me. So yeah, so us humans use communication to build ourselves up and to move forward and evolve. But we also use the awesome tool of communication to fucking break shit down and to fucking lie, cheat, and steal, right? Yeah, that one thing that made humans better than anything else, to evolve better than any other living thing, that thing also is one of our fucking biggest problems, is communication. Like that fucking cunt upstairs. Yeah, I fucking said, hey, dude, I hear you upstairs. He's like, wasn't me. I said, I heard you till 1 a.m. He said, wasn't me. I said, what? He's like, I live alone. I said, no, you don't. You live with 3 kids and a fucking white girlfriend. He's fucking lying. I said, I can't communicate with the guy. I know some of you might be thinking, well, there should be a way you could communicate. You're not just doing it right. I mean, could you communicate with Stalin or fucking Hitler? Or Kim Jong-un? Do you think you communicate with him and change his mind? You think I go to Joe Biden, and communicate with him and change his mind? No, it'd be fucking pointless. There's some people you just can't communicate with. I know that's our best tool that humans have, but just can't communicate with those people. And then there's the propaganda shit and the propaganda books and the bullshit that they write. That was another thing I was thinking about. Like teaching my kid or my sister's kids, like in family parties, I was like thinking of a game, like being able to teach kids like how to pick out objective or subjective writing or statements. And so that would be like a good thing to teach someone to learn about. Like in history books, how they write about how the Taino people were all wiped out to extinction or near extinction. And how I said in an earlier episode, that's the reason why I'm doing this episode, is I'm going to clear up what I said with evidence that the Taino people weren't wiped out. And I said it in an episode, and so some of you might be like, yeah, you just saying that. Now I read shit, and I hear about it, and I mention it. And I mention whether or not I believe it, or if it seems true, right? Objectively. Or allegedly, right? That's a new term we like to hear a lot now. But we use this tool of communication to fuck other people, right? And that's what it's all about. That's what they're fucking doing. They're writing in history books to get your emotions to fucking hate you for it, right? To point the finger at some people. That's what the fuck they're doing. So anyways, let me get this fucking, let me try to pull up this article here. Again, yeah, I already did an episode on this bitch. So, where the fuck is this motherfucker? So as far as I know, the University of Cambridge has a website, has an article on this, and so does archaeology.org and probably a lot of others. But here I'm going to talk about the University of Cambridge has an article about the ancient genome study that identifies traces of indigenous Taino people in present-day Caribbean populations. So basically, they found a fucking tooth of a woman from the 8th and 9th century in the Bahamas, and they're saying that those genomes, the DNA, the fucking woman, that woman has the same fucking genome, the blood DNA as modern Puerto Rican people. And so they dug up this woman's tooth, and they said, yeah, she was from the 8th or 9th century. So some centuries before Columbus came, she existed. And in this area, they found some ancient artifacts, too, from that time period. And they said, yeah, the Taino people are related to this woman. But then I was thinking about, because I mentioned that in that one episode, but there was another episode I did like way back in the day, and it's not up anymore. Because my face was in it, and so I just deleted it. The Anzac Boy. I'm just trying to do this from memory here. The Anzac Boy, I could look it up, but I'm just going to give a brief an idea of it. The Anzac Boy they found in, I think, Montana, if I'm not mistaken. He shared the same DNA of every Native American of North and South America, and the islands, obviously. Because on the islands was the Arawak people, which is the umbrella term for all the Taino people and the Carib people, right? Because that's like saying European. Under the European, you have Spanish, you have Italian, you have Polish, so on and so forth. And underneath the Arawak, they had the Taino. Then underneath Taino, they had other sects of smaller people, groups of people underneath that as well. So the Anzac Boys shared all that DNA. And so now they just found a tooth that says that the people that lived at the time before Columbus are still living today. So they weren't completely wiped out. We have tons of beautiful Puerto Rican women, as you could see in the streets. There's so many gorgeous, beautiful Puerto Rican women, and some not. But yeah, they're still around. They weren't completely wiped out to extinction. They're still with us. So when you see a Puerto Rican person, shake their hand, be like, "Thank you for showing up, for sticking around." They'll be like, "What?" So I just wanted to briefly go over that article, talking about that, and how they dramatize shit in books for propaganda, and it's not the propaganda like Black Lives Matter, where they want. It's not like they want reparations or anything like that. It's more of a thing like look at Christopher Columbus and the people that came after him, which is anybody that lives in America now. Yeah, all you fucking bitches. Not you. You're the good one, right? And that's what each one of those motherfuckers said back then. Not me. I'm the good one, right? But every one of those bitches that came after that fucked shit up. You know, that whether they played a part of a part of that system to make shit work out that way, right? To treat the natives like shit, and so on and so forth. And so where do you draw the line? To where you say, oh, now we know. But fucking back in the day, Bartolome de las Casas knew, and people were still fucking shit up for centuries after that. People knew, and everybody that lived after that in America, free, since then, is a bitch because of it. And I mean everyone that's playing that part of that system. So they're pointing a finger in the history books. They're like, mostly at Christopher Columbus and the white people. They're not pointing to the Arabs or the brown skin or black skin people. They're pointing just mainly to the white people. And why? Not for money, not so much for money, but for power and control, right? And when you got power and control, they usually pick on the little guy, usually, right? A lot of times. And you could find videos of white bitches kissing black dudes' feet right now. You got people so fucked up nowadays because of these types of books that makes people feel like shitheads, right? So you were the problem. Well, not you, but your ancestors. And because your ancestors, you're a piece of fucking garbage. That's kind of what they want you to know or think, right? But yeah, the Taino weren't wiped out. Or the Native American. I was looking on the census for that. I think there's only like 3% of America is like Native American. And like when I went to Oklahoma a few years ago, I was looking to find some Native Americans to talk to. I was looking for brown-skinned people with some kind of colorful, clothes on, whatever they wore. I didn't find any at that time. Although I did find a lot of black women to speak with, some men, and some white people too, and the majority of those people that I spoke with were Native American or had Native American DNA in them, or blood, or roots, or ancestors in them. How much I don't know if they ever told me specifically, whether it was half or quarter or eighth, or whatever it was, right? But a lot of the Native Americans live inside us. I have 2 different types of Native American in me. And a lot of the Taino people were married off as well. And marriage was a lot different back then. Like I said in other episodes, I'll say it again. Like a lot of women were gifted or stolen through conquest. When Islam came to Spain and conquered Spain in the year 711, I think it was Roderick was the king that was killed. His wife and daughters married to Muslim people. It's fucking crazy, but shit happened like that. And sure, it happened across the board, But a lot of times, like fathers would gift their daughters to high-end people to benefit from it. So it was more economic back then, right? A lot of people would have children, a lot of people wanted to find wives, whether they were good looking or attracted to them at all. But if they wanted to get a wife just to have kids so they could help out on the farm and do shit around the house, they didn't care what they looked like or how they were, right? I'm sure they did a little bit, but they were also thinking economically. A lot of people in different cultures. And like I have the episode about a lot of the first American women that came by, they were maids. A lot of them, had been paid for by guys that had money, and the guys that didn't have money weren't getting wives. The guys that were on the bottom were just shit out of luck, and that's kind of how it is today, right? And when you're on the bottom, you kind of get the bottom of the barrel, right? If you get any at all. I remember when I was on the bottom, like way on the bottom, and I got some beautiful women. And I was like, how did I get here? And then find out they're psycho, and I was like, that's how I got here. Then find out that they're not only psycho, but that I wasn't the only one. So I was like, so you're a psycho slut. So that's why you let me come in here. I thought I was lucky. Not really. Not in the respect that you would think, right? But that back in the old days, it was different. There was no romantic fucking. It wasn't so romantic back in the day as it is today. Like I'm sure some colonists didn't come to America and meet some Indian woman by a stream and then said, "Hey, will you go out to eat with me Friday night? Get to know you. We can get married sometime, possibly." I'm sure it happened a lot different than that. There might have been some instances that it happened like that, but I'm sure a lot more did not happen that way. So a lot of these Native American women married into these Englishmen or colonists or Europeans, or even black guys, right? There was that black dude that came with Cabeza de Vaca. Cabeza de Vaca, when he crashed in Florida, the Florida region, and then became a slave to the Native Americans, and then he wasn't a slave anymore, became friends, and then he had a black dude with him that was having sex with a lot of Native American women back then. I'm sure he's got a lot of kids, descendants, or had descendants at, at one time. But like, my great grandfather was from Mexico, and then he was either full or half, and then my grandfather was either half or quarter. My dad was either quarter or eighth. No, I think it was eighth. I mean, you don't know because each one of your parents throws like 100% of their DNA into a box, and then you take a handful of whatever's in there, and you get like sometimes a little bit more than another handful than the other parent. Like I could have more of my dad's traits or DNA than my mom's, or more Mexican or more Lithuanian or more English than the others. And my sister, one of my sisters, would take another handful, and it would be completely different, but it'd be of the same DNA box, right? And then so one of my sisters could possibly not have any Mexican DNA in them at all, and so their kids would have zero, right? And then the generations after that would not even know that their ancestors were Mexican, some of their ancestors, right? And so that those roots completely disappeared, right? And so that brings me back to the thing where they say like 3% of America has Native Americans, and what happened to all of them? Well, they married off, and a lot of that DNA got washed away through mixing, because Polish people mixed with German people mixed with black people, the black people mixed with Irish people, and so on and so forth, and everybody kept mixing, and then that first set of DNA with Native American finally just got washed away, right? Because it wasn't a strong gene. It just got washed away and disappeared. But like I said, when I was in Oklahoma, I met a lot of people that were black or white or whatever, and they had Native American DNA in them. I don't know how much, but some, right? But we got 100% Puerto Rican people, right? And Mexican people are 100%. Or mestizos, right? So I'm just clearing up what I said in the episode earlier. I just don't want you guys to think I'm just fucking talking shit, right? When I was like, the history books were talking shit that we wiped out all the Taino, but that's not true. I said that, and you guys are just like, yeah, fuck you. How do you fucking know? Well, here's the evidence in these articles. You can look it up. Fact check me. Look up all the shit I say and fucking fact check me. Pull out like one fucking topic and fucking look into that. Fact check me on that. Just don't come out and comment and be like, you lied, and then disappear. Or be like, I hate what you said, and then just disappear. Instead of explaining yourself or elaborating. I'm not claiming to have all the answers. Like I said, I'm just fucking researching shit and fucking putting on an episode podcast. That's it. I ain't making none of this shit up. Yeah, I got some personality in there and some comments, right? Or some opinions, some ideas. But you could tell the difference between my fucking stupid opinion and the fucking research, can't you? When I'm spitting out dates and fucking statistics, that's probably not my opinion. Right? Did you ever think about that? And fact check me. And don't just fucking fact check me by one source. Don't look up CNN and see if I was correct. But look up multiple different fucking memoirs and statistics and shit like that. Like I said, I'm gonna start that game with the kids. I'm gonna teach the kids how to be able to tell if something's objective or subjective. So when they go to school or when they read a newspaper or whatever, they're able to know that they're going to be confronted by one or the other, right? And it's usually in every fucking thing you read, a lot of things that you read. So you have to be real careful a lot of times. But you have to look for empirical data, right? You got to look for a lot of shit that is closest to fact instead of opinion. So I'll just bringing up a couple of different ideas of shit that I've came across. Initially, I just wanted to talk about the Taino people since we were talking about that in an episode just recently. And then I brought up the Anzac boy, which has shared DNA with every Native American in the Americas. And at some point, the Native Americans, kept going south. Some stayed up north. Some went east. If everybody's from Africa, and then they started coming into Eurasia 90,000 years ago, and then some people started mating with the Neanderthal and then some other types of humans, and then we created what we have today, Europeans and Asians and black people, which is only supposed to be 3 races, not like the census says in the census that we have here in America, all the weird shit that they have. But I'm getting tired. I already did this episode and the audio was fucked up, so I'm redoing it. So I'm thinking, did I go over this yet already or what? So I don't think I did. Some of these notes, like there was a census in 1565, the census that showed that there was only 200 Taino people left in Hispaniola in the mid 16th century. And by the early 19th century, the census counted 0 Taino people. So when people write these history books and talking shit that the Taino were completely wiped off the map, they weren't completely, lying. But they weren't completely honest either, because we still have Taino people. We still have Puerto Rican people. Some of them married off, and some are full blood, right? That's what the census said. It goes to show you how much we could trust the census, right? Like how many Mexicans you got living in your basement right now. Undocumented citizens. The census is all bullshit, isn't it? They're just making it seem so confusing now. There's only 3 fucking races. But anyways, I just wanted to bring that up. I don't know what I went over already, because I've done this twice already. So, anyways, I think that's all I wanted to bring up. Just about the Taino people are still with us. The Native American people are still with us. Even though only 3% of America shows that there's Native Americans that are left, or only 3% left. But they're still inside a lot of people, and a lot of that blood got washed out. So that's all I wanted to go over. I'm getting too tired to fucking do this tonight. So share this with your friends and your enemies, and they will hate you for it. And that's it for this episode. Stay tuned for next week. I'll upload to Spotify, YouTube, Rumble, Patreon, and whatever else I get my hands on. If I can get my hands on it. And subscribe to all of them because I might get banned from one or the other. I might not get banned at all because I don't make any money on any of this. So, fact check me on everything. Talk all the shit you can. Do what you can. I'm going to end this here. So, go fuck yourself. Adios.